Well, hello, and if you were here for my first video, welcome back. And if you're here for my second video, well, welcome, and hopefully you'll go back and look at the first one, even though it's not very good. Been a while, because I've been trying to work at this to get better at it. Scrapped 2 previous videos. Hopefully this one will turn out well. Today I'm just going to do a basic wood turning video on roughing a bowl from a green piece of wood. This is a piece of cherry. It was given to me by a friend. I need to find the center on this, which I've already done. Basically measured from the ends and from just inside the bark here to find the center on this side. It's going to yield me about a 12-inch bowl when I'm done. I'm going to turn off the video here for a minute because I like to peel the back bark off of this stuff. I don't think you want to see that. Once I've got the bark off, I'll cut this into a rough round on the bandsaw, and then we'll mount her up and we'll start turning her. Alright, I've been to the bandsaw, cut this roughly round, use my air chisel, knock the bark off the back. Doing that's not necessary, I just prefer to do it. Gets it out of my way, I don't have to worry about turning it off or having any of it fly off while I'm turning it. So just get it out of the way. I use a large 4-prong drive center that fits into my thick mark chuck here. Take it out, put it in the center that I've found on here. Just take a hammer to kind of mark where I'm going to hang or mount this on. I've got a live center with a point in it on the tailstock here. So I'll put this in the hole I've marked there. Bring my tailstock up. To where I've got the hole on the back side. Lock it down. Make sure I'm in everywhere I want to be. I've moved over here, so I'm going to back this off a little bit. Put it back right. Okay, there we go. Now if you'll notice, it's cocked back a little bit there. Same there. I want this thing to run as true as possible, so I'm going to adjust this a little bit to get it more centered up, find out where my pith is and everything. I left a little bit of pith in this when I cut it with the chainsaw. Get this a little more centered on here so it doesn't cause too much vibration. Okay, now I'm going to center this thing up a little bit better on the lathe. If you look here, right here, I hope you can see that. That's the pith, the center of the tree right there. I didn't get that cut out with the chainsaw. I got most of it out on this side. What I want to do is make sure I get this turned away. So I'm just going to hold my finger to mark the center of that, spin this around, and I'm almost there. That's close enough. If I was too far back or too far forward, I'd loosen the tailstock up and shift this over. So that's 180 from here to there. I like that. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it a quarter of a turn and check the sides. My finger, just line it up on here, spin it around, and I'm a little bit out there, about 1/8 of an inch. We'll go ahead and move that. Just going to loosen the tailstock. Move it away about 1/8 of an inch. We'll check it again. That looks pretty good. So I'm confident that's good. I'll tighten everything up. Make sure everything's locked down, and we should be ready to go. Okay, we're all mounted up. We're ready to turn. Before we do, I want to do a couple little safety checks here. First, make sure your lathe speed's turned down. If you have a forward and reverse, make sure you're in forward. You want to set your rest in place. Make sure everything clears. You want it so slightly below center so that you get a little bit of a downward angle with your tool. I'm going to use a 1/2 inch bowl gouge here with a long grind on the side. It's a weighted handle. I prefer weighted handles. They make it a little easier on me when I do the roughing. Trying to think a minute. Also, make sure your tailstock's up tight. It's locked down. Again, spin everything to make sure it's clear. You should be wearing safety glasses, mask, all that kind of stuff when you're turning. These glasses do have a safety lens in them. They're not the best, but for doing a video, it's what I'm going to use. And I won't be using a mask because you won't be able to hear me very well through it. So I think we're all set up here. Let's get turning this thing. Well, we're mounted up and all ready to go. As I said before, make sure your lathe speed's turned all the way down. We'll turn the lathe on. Start bringing this up to speed a little bit here. Slowly bring it up. Starting to get a little vibration right there. I'm about 400 RPMs. So now I'm just going to make some roughing cuts here. Start working this thing down and around. You'll notice it bouncing around. That's because we're doing what's called cutting air. Turn the lathe off, move my rest in, get a little closer to my work. When I talk about cutting air, I'm going to spin this, make sure nothing hits the rest. You can see I'm cutting here, and then I'm not cutting there. Cutting here, and I'm not cutting there. That's where the bounce is coming in, you're seeing. And as I get this closer to round, I might be able to speed it up. Should be able to start speeding it up a little bit more. Not yet. All right, so we're going to take some more cuts here. Just start working this down. Start flattening the backside off a little bit. Again, we're cutting air. At this point, these are all roughing cuts. Just wasting away stuff I don't need. Getting a push on so stuff doesn't fly into my face is bad. Cuts I started off using were pull cuts. Now I'm using push cuts. Pull cuts let stuff fly up into my face. Push cuts shoot it away from me. Starting to get closer to round, I'm going to come in here. Start bringing my shape around from the bottom. Turn the lathe off again so I can adjust my rest. You can see we're getting pretty close to being round here. It's a rough finish right now because that's basically what I'm doing, just roughing cuts, trying to get rid of everything I don't need. Still need to flatten this down enough to where I can get a tenon turned on there for a chuck, so I can reverse this and turn the inside out. All right, start making more cuts here. As I'm doing this, I'm just getting a rough shape of my bowl. I want to have some kind of idea of what I'm doing. This is going to be a pretty generic bowl shape. But if I have a special shape I want to do, I need to have that in mind when I get started. Again, we're going to come in. Now I'm doing more of a normal cut, double rubbing, so that I can get our shape better aligned and get a little cleaner cut. turn the lathe off again to adjust my rest. Take a look at what's going on. Found everything. Now I've got a crack here in the pith. I've got a little bit of a crack here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to readjust my rest around to the front side of this so that I can cut back and get rid of the pith that's showing right here. It's got a crack in it, and see if I can judge how far this goes, this crack here. Hopefully I don't have to cut way back into here. We'll check it out and see. Now I'm going to start facing this front of this off. Just going to move my tool rest around to the front. Again, slightly below center. I'm going to use my gouge on my side. I'm going to grab underneath the rest. Just push in with my thumb to start wasting this back to get rid of this pith that is right here. See the little crack in it? And then hopefully get rid of this little crack that's right here and not have to go too deep to do that. So lathe on. Just going to push in. Again, we're bouncing because we're not flat. Take a couple cuts, move in a little bit here, take some more. And let's see where we're at. Still got to come in. I've just come just to the center of that pith. And it's actually starting to crack on both sides. See if we can get a little bit more speed on this since it's round now. Yeah, now we got a little vibration there. We're up around 700. I come in the other way. Just start flattening this off. See where we are now. Okay, we look good there. Got a slight crack there. May be all right with that if it doesn't go too deep. I think we're going to be fine. So we'll finish facing this off. I'm just going to go ahead and waste this down as far as I can to the center. It'll be easier to do now than when I've got it mounted in the chuck. One more cut. Well, we got a bit of a branch inclusion. I'll show you that when we get this switched around. But we got the pith out. I don't think that crack there is going to be too much of an issue, or that one there. So we're in good shape. We're ready to turn it around and remount it. First of all, I got to go to the back side and cut a tenon on it. So we're going to have to move the chuck around the other, or the rest around the other side, and cut a tenon on it so we can put it in the chuck. All right, have the rest move back around to the back side here. We're going to put a tenon on this end so that we can mount it in a chuck, spin it around, mount it in a chuck, and turn the inside of the bowl out. General rule of thumb is the base of your bowl should be about 40% of the bowl itself for utility bowls to give it good stability. So I kind of use that, gauge that as a what I use for my tenons also. So I'm not going to have to do a whole lot. I can cut in a little bit, maybe a quarter inch or more here. Put a tenon on this, it'll hold this just right. So we're going to turn the lathe on. I'm going to push cut this in. Sounds like I'm going to have to level my lathe up. It's still got a little vibration in it. All right, so I'm just going to make that cut right there. That's all I want. I'll come back and finish that up. I'm going to do just a little bit more shaping on my bowl here real quick. Move my rest around. one quick cut here. Clean up my curve a little bit. That should get it. All right, when I turn the front, I'll get rid of those little fuzzies there. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut my tenon. I like to finish my tenons with a spindle gouge. It's going to come in and make a slight cut there. I'm going to switch to my other camera for a second. Hopefully you can get a better view of that. I apologize, I'm going to move a camera while I'm real quick for you here, so hopefully you can get a better shot of that. Sorry for bouncing everything around on you. And let's see if we can get a little closer to it. All right, so I'm just coming in, pivoting my tool in right here, and I'm cutting a slight bevel here because I use a chuck that has dovetail jaws. Now I'll come in on the back side, just flatten this off to meet that. You want to make sure that you've got good flat surfaces and meet up nicely so that your chuck grabs hold of this very well. All right, so we got that in there. Now I'm just going to waste away a lot of this tenon right here that I'm not going to need. Just flatten this bottom out a little bit. These are all rough cuts. Don't need to worry about the surface you're creating here. Just going to turn this down. Some people like to keep a little nub from where their center was. I break it off because I got to realign it anyway after it warps from drying. Well, it doesn't matter much to me. You can see it's starting to wobble already. I've got that thin. So we'll turn it off. And then pull it off the lathe. I'll go ahead and break that off. I don't want it there. And there we go. Bowl's ready to be turned around and mounted in the chuck. All right, I've switched chucks here. So I need larger jaws to mount this. And I guess what I should have told you is, if you're new to this, you probably should measure your tenon so that you know, let me get this up in the camera view, that'll help a bunch, so that you know it'll fit in your chuck. I've been doing this for a while, so I usually don't measure them. I know pretty much what I need and what's going to fit. And I'm not going to claim I hit them every time, but I hit them more often than not. So now we're going to take the bowl, we're going to set the tenon up in the chuck, press forward on the center to make sure it's against the jaws. Tighten everything down. Spin it around and make sure your jaws are all up against the bottom of the bowl. That way you know it's going to spin as true as possible. Make sure it's good and tight. And we're ready to start hollowing this bowl out. Now, it's always a good idea to use your tailstock whenever possible. But the way I hollow the tailstocks, the way I do my bowls, tailstock's going to be in my way here, so I'm not going to use it. I pulled it back, locked it out so it doesn't fall off the lathe, and I pulled the center out so I don't hit my elbow on the points. Now we're going to turn the lathe on. We're going to bring it up to speed. And I'm going to switch to a different camera here for you. so we can get a better look at what's going on. All right, when you're hauling, that center needs to, rest needs to come down a little bit. It's too high. What I neglect to tell you at the beginning is when you're cutting on the outside of a bowl, you always cut from the smallest to the largest diameter. And on the inside, it's just the opposite way. That way you get good, clean cuts all the way around. So now we're going to turn the lathe speed up. I'm going to start hollowing this out. Taking cuts to come in. Trying to rub my bevel. You always want to keep the bevel rubbing, get a good clean cut. I guess maybe I should stop and talk about that. Probably wouldn't hurt to get the wire from this camera out of the way either. This is the bevel of your tool. Just want to make sure as you make your cut in that bevel rubs on the wood while you're making the cut. If you pull that bevel off, things start to chatter and things get crazy. See that little branch inclusion here and one in here? Hopefully those will both turn out. As I bring the tool in, I arc it in, starts to cut, and then I let the tool move through my hands. As I bring it back toward me, and take the cut to the bottom. You can feel a little bit of a, hidden before unless it's gone, right there is that branch. You can feel a difference in the cut. And I'm just going to start moving a little faster here. As I make these cuts, I'm going to check this out, see where the branch is almost gone there. Let's try to get a little more speed if we can. There we go. And these are just quick cuts. Roughing cuts, just trying to remove a lot of wood. You can hear it vibrating a little bit because I'm getting kind of rough with it. Need to move that rest down a little bit more. It's always good safety practice. Turn your lathe off to adjust your rest. Move it up a little bit closer. As I'm doing this, I'm keeping the outside shape of my bowl in mind. Because right now for roughing, I want to achieve a wall thickness of the same dimension all the way through the bowl so that as it dries evenly, works as evenly as possible and doesn't crack. With that in mind, let's take a quick measurement. That's about 11.5-inch bowl. Rule of thumb on drying a bowl is about 1 inch thickness per diameter. So if this was a 10-inch bowl, I'd have a finished thickness of 1 inch. This is about 11.5 inches. So I'm probably going to go somewhere between 1 1/4 and 1 1/2 just to be on the safe side. See, I'm getting rid of that branch inclusion there. That one's going away, so I don't think we have any problems with those. We're just going to continue roughing this thing down. I'm getting pretty deep there, so I don't want to go much deeper at the moment. I want to get more on my wall thickness. Up, had a little bit of a catch there. Caught it, bring it back. Let's see where we are on our wall. Yeah, I'm going to leave it right there. I've got a little bit of a spot there where I had that catch. Not going to worry about that, but that thickness right there will be good. So that's the thickness I'm going to shoot for the rest of the bowl. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm making my cuts in here, but I'm kind of watching to my outside, kind of trying to stay to that shape. That'll help me a little bit, getting my thickness right. Stop now, and I'm going to grab a caliper. I'm going to check the thickness. So I'm pretty good till right there I start getting thick. And what I'm doing is I'm watching this spot here. You see as this moves away from there, and that starts to move away from this spot where my thumb is. That tells you where you're getting thick at. So let's see. I don't know if I can share that on. I don't have it in the camera view right now. But I know right about there I'm getting thick. So I'm going to pick up the cut just before that. Take it in down to here. I'm going to start removing this also. Not jumping around, it's just me getting a little too forceful, so I'm going to back it off a little bit. Get a little bit of a heavy cut there. Check our wall thickness again. Right about that. I don't know if you can see that line right there, but I'm getting thick right about there, so I'm going to come back down, pull back from that spot, go into that cut. Come down to there, we'll check it again. The wall thickness is important to the drying. Still getting thick right about there, same spot. As I said, you want to have your wall thickness pretty even throughout so that the bowl doesn't warp weird or cause cracks in it from the drying process. All right, so I'm good to there now. I got a little bit more right here I got to take down. I'm going to come back again here. Catch my cut. Check it again. Still a little thick right there. Come back a little farther. That should have got it. Yeah, we're good to right there. I'm going to go on down just to see where we are. Yeah, I got just a little bit more to take out right there towards the bottom. This doesn't have to be exact. It's just got to be close, fairly close. But it's good practice. Just controlling your tool, learning how to make the cuts. I'm going to move my rest. I should have done this a little earlier. Get it down in here so I get a little better support, a little closer to the work. All right, there's, now I'm too low. We'll finish taking the bottom of this out. Now the shape of this bowl is such that I can turn the whole inside with the same gouge, which makes it nice. But if your bowl is a little different shape than this, if the walls are a little steeper, whatnot, you might not be able to. I'm still a little thick right there. You might not be able to get to the bottom. I'm going to take this last cut and I'll explain what I'm talking about a little better. As you can see, I'm able to take this gouge, take this cut all the way to the bottom. One last check. And we are good. Now what I was talking about is if this bowl was a little wasn't quite as open, it was more closed up here, because I'm rubbing the bevel all the way down in here. But if this was more of a closed bowl, I might get to the point where this tool would be hitting here and causing my bevel to come off. If that happens, then I switch to this tool. This is more of a traditional bowl grind from years ago, much steeper, it's not swept back, and you'll notice down here in the bottom, that bevel rubbing, my tool handle's almost straight. If I put this tool in the same spot, you can see the tool handle's back towards me more. So let me switch over to an overhead view to make that so you can see it a little better. Again, this tool, let's get this back. This tool, the bevel's right there. You can see the angle I'm riding here. Now if this tool was hitting against my wall, my outer wall, I could switch to this tool and you can see how it pulls the handle out away from this wall. So in some cases you may have to switch to a different tool for that. But there we go, we've got the thing hollowed out. We'll take it off later. Oh, one thing I do want to do real quick, I just want to take these fuzzies off the outside here. And I'm just going to take this, just lightly touch that edge and get rid of those. So there it is. We'll take it out of the chuck. There's a shot of the inside. One finished cherry bowl. So now all we got to do is date it, put some sealer on it, let it dry for a few months, and we'll be good to finish it up. All right, well, as I said, we're going to date this thing with the month and the day and the year. So we know how long it's been drying. We'll seal it with some wood sealer. Put it on the shelf. In about 4 or 5 months, we'll be ready to return this to a finished bowl. Thanks for watching my video. I hope it was informative. I hope you liked it. And hopefully it won't be very long before I come back with another one. If you have any ideas, stick them in the comments for me. You have any nice critiques of this video, anything I can do to improve, I'd surely help it, or surely would like to help. So again, thank you very much. My name is Keith Bundy. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time.